This episode of GunBlog VarietyCast brought to you by lawofselfdefense.com. Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety to learn about your state's self-defense laws. Sign up for one of their online or in-person seminars or buy the book Law of Self-Defense and get 10% off when you use the discount code VARIETY at checkout. That's lawofselfdefense.com/variety. Sit back, relax, and take a ride with us on the GunBlog VarietyCast, episode 63. Welcome back to the GunBlog VarietyCast. I'm your host Sean from NC GunBlog, and I'm all alone this week. Due to several people having attacks of life, everyone is on assignment. This week, we're only going to have one segment. Way back when I first asked for guests to come on the show and tell us their funny stories, we had one story that was just too good to be hidden in the middle of a full episode. So here it is, LawDog and Squeaks.
This one time?
Born and raised in the wilds of Africa and the Middle East, LawDog has been a Texas peace officer since 1993. Welcome to the show, LawDog.
Thank you.
Well, LawDog, I bet you've seen and done some unusual things in your time.
Probably more than most, come to think. The Africa on top of West Texas peace officer on top of military tends to lead to some really interesting experiences. For instance, when I was very young, I would say pre-teen, we used to live in Nigeria. We had a little bungalow on a set of estates up near the Biafran border. The estate manager, the gentleman who owned it, used to allow peddlers, traders, to wander up and down. And so every night you'd see these gentlemen come through with these either carts or great huge bags on the ends of poles. The most notorious, in my mind, of which was Ali Cheap Cheap. He very busy
What a
man.
name!
Well, he was proud of it. My mother prided herself on being a very astute haggler, and she used to drive Ollie Cheap Cheap nuts, to the point that he regarded my mother as somewhat of a challenge. And she'd ask for some outrageous stuff, and he would do his darndest to come up with it, and half the time she wouldn't buy it after he went all the trouble to get it. But he still tried. One of these evenings, the visiting wife of one of our British engineers was talking to Mom as about the only expat family in the area of Nigeria. Our home was a social center. And they're out in the front porch and they're talking. And this woman had never been outside of London before and absolutely loathed Africa. Just hated it. My God, she hated it. She and Mom are sitting in the front porch basically having a gripe fest. And here comes Ali Cheap Cheap. But he doesn't have anything Mom wanted. Didn't have anything the English lady wanted. She wouldn't have taken anything he had anyway because, again, she hated Africa. So old Ali is about to admit defeat for the evening. But before he left, he uttered that one phrase that he probably shouldn't have uttered, and that was, "Madams want for anything." The English lady gets this really weird look in her eye, and by God, she's going to get some sort of memento of Africa. Taps her purse, which some sort of, clad as some sort of reptile, and says, "Do you have this?" And Ali goes, "Oh, yes, madam," and then wanders off. Just gone. This was Africa. This happened. English lady's just, I can't believe you do that. Well, it's Africa. They do that. So about not quite a month later, maybe a month later, this English doofus and my mother on the front porch again, and here comes Ali Cheap Cheap. He's panting and puffing up the drive. And he's got bloody whacking great huge length of bamboo, one shoulder to the shoulder of a buddy of his. Hanging from the middle of this is a huge burlap bag. Now, when you're in Africa, things in burlap bags are never good. They never put things in burlap bags one would expect to be in burlap bags, and anything in a burlap bag is usually angry. So here comes Ali, and Mom looks up and sees that burlap bag, and she's, oh my God, he's bought a potato sack full of something, and she's about to tell Ollie to get his, whatever he's gotten that away from her. Before she can say anything, Ollie and his little buddy lift the bag and say, "Oh, madam, we have your beef." Now, if you're not an English twit who never left London in her life, you would understand that beef is African bush slang for an animal, any animal. It could be a chicken, it could be a rhinoceros, it could be a Cape buffalo. It's all beef. If it moves, it's beef. So when he says we have your beef, this opens up any number of possibilities. So Mom says, thanks. There's something alive in a sack. So she comes off her rocker and she's about to tell Ollie to get his beef away from the house when the third inhabitant of our front porch wakes up. Now, sometime in the past, my father had stumbled across a kusimans, which is an African pygmy mongoose.
Okay.
Yes, a kusimans is best described as, well, you take a tennis ball, you cover it in really coarse ginger fur. Then you put a little cone on one end, and you put a clown nose on the cone. You stick 4 stumpy little legs under it, and this bottle brush tail, and you have a kusimans. Now, since it's a mongoose, it's a member of the weasel family. And anybody will tell you that weasels and sane are not ever in the same company. Weasels are crazy. So when I say that other weasels look at kusimans and go, he's nuts, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're not right in the head. Seriously. Squeaks has woken up and wandered out of his mongoose-aminium, which was this giant plexiglass box we had on the front porch. Plexiglass lid, plexiglass sides, and he had this little dorm, and he'd come out and would frog around. He wanders out, does his evening stretch, takes a that big morning inhale, and smells snake. And not only does he smell snake, he smells snake right there and screams. And you wouldn't believe how loud something the size of a tennis ball can scream, but I'm here to tell you, that will make you sit up and look for the second coming of Christ. It's just, it runs up your spine. Well, it ran up Ollie's spine. Ollie gets scared, drops the bag, and the snake inside on the plexiglass roof of Squeaker's house. Now, when Dad had built the mongoose-aminium for us, he assured us, since Squeaks was going to be outside and there were things in the night you didn't want that would worry you, he insisted that plexi was unbreakable. Yeah, okay. So, snake and brought bag hits the top of the plexi, falls through into Squeaker's house. Now, this snake, I swear to God, the snake was 10 feet long. My mother always said that I was exaggerating, it wasn't more than 8. But it was a fairly large chunk of python. It lands in Squeaker's house, smells mongoose, and snakes don't like things that think they're meals, so snake's trying to get the hell out.
Yeah, I've read Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Yes, so he slithers up the side, pours himself down the side, and Squeaks says, oh my God, here's a meal. Gets a hold of the snake's tail. Now, the snake was bigger around than Squeaks was. So you got the snake that's trickling down the side of this plexiglass box with this auburn ginger tennis ball clamped onto his tail with all 4 legs braced. Which slowed him down not one whit. I mean, this snake is hauling tail, and Squeaks is just, he's not slowing down. Snake hits the floor, something's on his butt. He's been in a burlap sack for God knows how long. He's been fed to a mongoose. He wants away. So he looks around, sees this opening, which happens to be where my mother left the sliding glass door of our bungalow slid open for ventilation. Holy crap, here's safety. Hauls ass right in that sliding glass gap, with Squeaks gnawing away his tail like fit to everything. Snake's going in. Now here's my father. Now something you have to know about my father was nothing bothered him, ever. At one time during the rainy season, which we call the wet, my father's office flooded knee-deep in water. My father walks into his office through the water, sits down at his desk, picks up a telex, starts reading it. Secretary comes in, says, "Jim, there's water." Jim says, "Uh-huh." She puts his coffee down. He picks up his coffee, looks at the telex, puts his coffee down, opens the bottom right-hand drawer, reaches inside for a file, comes out with a 6-inch crocodile because his office is full of water. Looks at the crocodile, somewhat bemusedly, not like you'd think a man who just pulled a juvenile carnivorous reptile out of his desk drawer would be, but like, have you ever seen a college professor that keeps all of his pens and pencils in one desk drawer and then finds one in another and can't figure out how the hell that happened? That's the way my father's looking at this crocodile. So he looks at it, sets it down, reaches back in his desk drawer, pulls out the file he's looking for, opens the file, and then his hand comes out from behind the file, feels a crocodile, moves over 6 inches, gets his cup of coffee, goes back. You hear this meditative sip. Coffee goes back out. He grabs the crocodile, puts it back in the desk drawer, and shuts the desk drawer. That's my dad. So he's sitting in his rocker with the husband of said twit, and the husband, the British husband, looks down, sees 3 yards of snake go hauling ass by, shrieks, and lands, from the sofa on the top of the bar in one flat-footed, Superman bound. Thoing! My father lifts his feet from the floor, makes sure his whiskey and soda doesn't tip over, and watches a snake go by. It's Africa. What the hell? Rita has seen this chest that we had shipped over from Africa at great personal expense. It's hand-carved. Dense wood. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's huge. Weighs about the same as a late model Buick. So a snake sees this. He's still got something on his butt. He hauls tail for this chest, slides under it, wraps himself about 3 legs, knocks Squeaks off in the process, and hunkers down to mutter nasty things about life in general and the state of things. Mom comes tap dancing in the house at full speed with Ollie Cheap Cheap and his buddy hot on her tails. Tom's wife comes sailing in, jumps up the bar, clings hold of Tom, shrieking at the top of her lungs, Africa, she wants to go home. Mom comes in, grabs Squeak by the scruff of the neck, he is mad, and she's shrieking, "Where is it?" And Dad goes, "What?" Tom goes, "It's under the bloody chest!" Ollie is dancing in fury because we have taken possession of the snake and have not given him money. So he's yelling, "These beef 30 naira!" Mom says, somewhat understandably, "Get it out of my house. 30 naira, I don't want it." Dad says, quite reasonably, it'll probably leave. As soon as everything calms down, it'll probably leave. Just prop open a door. Tom goes, "The thing's bloody huge." And it was very large. Ollie starts shrieking about how we are beggaring him and taking food from his children's mouth, and he'll go as low as 25 naira. Tom goes, 25 naira for a snake? Are you serious, man? Mom says she wants the snake out of her house. She doesn't want it. She wants it out of the house. Tom says I should say not. It's charging by the pound is just not reasonable for a snake. Ollie has suddenly spotted the chance to beat Mom in haggling, and he is on his knees, tearing at his clothes, just, "Oh, madam, you are evil. 20 naira, not 1 kobo less. 20 naira." Mom's, "I don't want the snake. Snakes, wants everybody to go away. He wants the whole world. He wants to a redo on the entire world." Squeaks, hanging from Mom's hand, is, I swear to God, doing the best Scarlett O'Hara imitation a little furry psycho could do. He sees a snake, he realizes how big it is, and he will not ever go hungry again. Mom wants the snake out of the house. Ollie wants Mom to pay for the snake. Dad looks up, takes a sip, and says, "Thief man, this beef no more than 10 naira. Ollie changes tacks because all of a sudden the man of the house is involved, says, "Boss, good juju, make you strong like bull, 15 naira. Tom says, "I say, do you really think so? Because, his wife's here." Dad says, "Well, if you got about 11, 12 naira, I'll bet you can find out." And Mom goes, "Why is it still in my house?" Dad detects the warning signs and decides, okay, it's now time to do something. He looks at Mom, makes a little shushing gesture. She goes and sits down in a chair because Dad's going to take care of it. She's got Squeaks in her lap. She's petting Squeaks, trying to calm him down. Squeaks doesn't want to be calm. There is several decades worth of meat not 3 feet away, and by God, he's going to take care of it. Tom and his wife are on the bar. Tom is still debating on whether he wants to try African Viagra, aka snake, and not really sure he wants to do so. And Dad is contemplating. Okay, now, my brother and I had been out back, and I forget what we'd been doing. Probably something dreadfully terrible with a turkey. But we'd been out back, and we heard the uproar, and so Mom and Dad are screaming. It's obviously going to be good. So we come hauling butt inside. Look around, and there's something scaly under the chest. This promises to be good. So, his snake, we start going over there. Dad says, decides that he's got to do something. He has an enraged wife. He's got children that are gone over and are poking, basically a reptile, predator. So he goes over and gets one of his big walking sticks. Dad always had a collection of walking sticks. So he goes over and gets one of his walking sticks, goes over behind the chest and pushes out from the wall. Kneels down. He's looking under there and prodding with his stick, and all of a sudden sees something and reaches under real quick and grabs something. I'm not sure if Squeaks had decided that Dad was about to steal his meal, or if he was just tired of waiting for the kitchen staff to get their crap together. So he comes sailing off Mom's lap, hits the floor, shoots under the chest, and just, I'm coming, and hell's coming with me! Dad looks over at Mom with eyebrows kind of go up, pulls his arm back out from their chest, and Squeaks has all 4 legs wrapped around my dad's forearm and is delivering the famous mongoose death bite to the back of Dad's wrist. Dad looks at Squeaks, looks at Mom, and says, "Honey, your rat's not doing all that much good." So Chris and I are over there, and we got one end, and we're pulling, and Snake's cussing, and we're pulling, Snake's cussing. Dad pulls Squeaks off, hands it to Mom, and Mom said, "Are you sure you need the boys' help?" Because I'd say I was probably 9, Chris was probably 7. Do you really need their help? Dad, yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Tom gets worried and says, "Jim, old boy, are you sure? I mean, it's a snake." About that time, the snake's head appears from the back of the chest, with one of Dad's hands clamped around its neck. And he waves the snake's head up and down, says, "Don't worry, I've got the pointy end." So Chris and I, all right, Dad's got the good end. We start digging around. He puts his walking stick over his left hand, and we get the stick down some coils, and we start prying, and we get things out, get a couple coils, and Chris burrows down and gets the good end, the end that doesn't have any points. So Chris gets one end, I get hold of Chris, we put our feet on the chest, we pull, and the tail of the snake comes out. If you watch the Discovery Channel, they will tell you that snakes that are provoked can, and I quote, secrete a noxious substance from their tails.
Yeah.
Now, secrete doesn't quite have the sort of oomph that one, having met up with this, would think. If a snake's tail secretes a noxious substance, then a cannon secretes a cannonball. When that quote-unquote noxious substance comes out, it's got range, and it's got dispersal. Matter of fact, it's got enough range and dispersal to reach out and paint a mother from eyebrows right to the mongoose retching in her lap. At the time, my mother's hair went down past her butt.
Oh.
Yes. My brother, who always, I thought, the more eloquent of us, looked over and went, "Eep," which is probably the most eloquent thing my eloquent brother has ever said. Because when I looked up, she's scraping this black-green slime off her face. And Mrs. Tom says, "Oh, bad luck," in that voice, your entire family's died of the Black Plague, I'm sorry, tone of voice. Dad hears that, pops up and says, "What?" And I'm going, "Dad, wow, it sprayed." Dad goes, "What? It even get on you?" On us, no, but not on us, no. Dad goes, "Busy, good, don't let that end get back on the chest." Dad pushes the chest out a bit, says, "Ollie, come here." Ollie, who's been watching this thing with, people have watched bullfights with less interest. He's been watching this with horrified fascination. Points his chest and goes, "Boss?" Dad grabs him, pulls him over, hands him the pointy end, says, "Hold this." Ollie freezes. He's got Both hands are on the snake's neck. The snake is staring at him, and the snake is promising retribution. The snake's had a bad night. So Ollie's got it, and he's terrified of turning loose. Dad looks at him and says, Ollie, now when I tell you, I want you to pull that in towards the door. Ollie, look at me. Ollie looks at him. Thief man, when this chest moves, pull that in. Ollie goes, but boss, my father was a very strong man. He grew up poor and lifting stuff. I mean, this chest was huge, hand-carved, loaded with Mom's knickknacks. My father gets his fingers under it, breathes out a couple of times, stands up, and lifts this entire teak chest a foot off the ground. It was amazing. So Chris and I take off running, and we get, about 2 coils loose, and Ollie doesn't move. And Dad looks at Ollie and says, Thief man, pull. And Ollie says, boss man, you say pull. Now Beef, he say no. Dad looks at him and says, Ollie, pull the snake. Ollie goes, boss? Dad says, Bushman, I swear by my God, if you don't. And then behind him, my mother levitates off her chair and detonates like a screaming Roman candle into words that Marines would have gone, wow. Navy dockwallopers would have clapped their hands, listening in sheer appreciation some of the words coming out of that woman's mouth. She starts screaming about pulling the snake. Ollie hears this, takes off like somebody's just kicked him in the butt. Tom just gets all big-eyed. When Ollie took off, it didn't move the snake all that much because when he hit the end of it, his legs went out and he kind of hit the ground, but it moved enough to clear the coils from the chest. So as soon as the coils are cleared, my father drops the chest, leaps over the chest, grabs the snake, and hammer throws out in the yard. Goes out in the yard, hits the ground, starts hauling scales in whatever direction away from that madhouse. Squeaks is pissed. Squeaks is losing his little weasel mind because there goes the rest of his meal. But as psychotically enraged as that mongoose was, he wasn't a patch on my mother. She's standing there, waist or butt-length hair covered in grease, glaring at Ollie. My father's dusting off his hands, turns around and sees my mom, goes, honey, why are you covered in grease? So, Mom looks at him, flips around, starts stomping into the back towards the bathroom and she's opining about Africa and men in general. And Dad's, kind of confused, looks at Tom. Tom looks at him and says, redheads. Meanwhile, Ollie has gotten over his paralysis at the snake and is just practically doing a war dance in fury. I mean, it's that 50 naira worth of beef, all that problem. Children are starving. My father looks at him, goes over to the bar, gets out 2 glasses, chooses a bottle, puts the bottle back, chooses another bottle, opens it, says, Ollie, do you have gold? Starts pouring 2 glasses of something amber. Ollie's click, voila, boss, I have gold necklace. A necklace such as only a princess could wear. Dad caps the bottle, puts it back, 70 naira. Ollie, who, again, is a haggler, oh, boss, 70 naira, taking the very bread. And Dad looks at him and says, Bushman, Madam has gone forward to fetch her machete. Ollie starts thinking about it, goes, a blessing on the house, but you have 1,000 sons, grabs money and hauls butt. So Dad gets this necklace. It really was, my mother still has the necklace, best of my knowledge. Gets the necklace, both glasses. He's heading for the bathroom. Like, Tom, take the wife and go away. Boys, don't get anything with an appetite. And that was Africa.
All right, LawDog, it was good to talk with you. See you again soon.
You take care.
Catch all the latest from LawDog at thelawdogfiles.blogspot.com. Well, that's our show for the week. Thanks again to Rob Allen for our music and Firearms Policy Coalition for their support. And thank you for listening to the GunBlog VarietyCast. Constructive criticism can be sent to Sean at SeanSorrentino.com and hate mail to WizardPC at GunsCarsTech.com. Like and share us on Facebook, if you have Facebook. And if you receive this podcast through iTunes, make sure to leave us a glowing 5-star review. Show notes can be found at GunBlogVarietyCast.com/episode 63. This is a URS production.